It's stories of the saints with your old pal Spuds.
Hey there, friends. Pull up a log, get comfy, and warm your hands by the fire. My name's Spuds, and I'm really glad you're here. You know, some of the best things in life don't come from screens or loud places. They come from moments just like this. Quiet. Simple. Real. When I was a kid, I used to sit around a fire just like this with my grandfather. He wasn't famous, and he didn't travel the world, but boy, could he tell a story. Every night, as the fire cracked and the stars stretched across the sky, he'd lean in and say, "Spuds, let me tell you about someone who lived for something bigger than themselves." And that's how I first heard about the saints. At the time, I didn't fully understand it, but their stories, they stuck with me. Why? Because they were real, because they struggled, because they chose courage when it was hard, because they loved when it cost them something, and most of all, because their lives pointed to something greater, something eternal. My grandfather used to say, "Stories shape the soul, Spuds." And the stories of the saints? Those are the ones that remind us who we're meant to be. That's what this show is all about. Here on Stories of the Saints with Spuds, we're going to sit together, like this, and dive into the lives of these incredible men and women. We'll laugh. We might get a little teary-eyed. And maybe, just maybe, we'll walk away a little braver, a little kinder, and a little closer to God. So whether you're here because you're curious, or because you've been walking this journey for a long time, you're welcome at this fire. All right, ready for a story? Let's begin. Tonight's story. Well, it's not just a story. It's something real, something powerful, something that matters more than we usually like to think about. We're going to talk about the moment every single one of us will face someday, the hour of our death. Now, I know, that might sound heavy, maybe even a little scary, but stick with me, because what we're talking about tonight isn't fear. It's mercy. Have you ever heard of the Divine Mercy Chaplet? It's a simple prayer. You can pray it on rosary beads like these. It doesn't take long. But what it carries is enormous. This devotion comes from a humble nun named Saint Faustina Kowalska. She lived in the early 1900s, and she wrote down everything Jesus revealed to her about his mercy in her diary. And one of the most incredible promises connected to this chaplet is about the dying. Jesus told Saint Faustina that when this chaplet is prayed at the bedside of someone who is dying, he stands between that soul and the justice they deserve, not as a judge, but as a merciful Savior. Think about that. In that final moment, when fear, regret, and uncertainty can rush in, this prayer calls down mercy like a shield. My grandfather used to say, "Spuds, the way we leave this world matters, but God never stops reaching for us. Not even in the last breath." And that's exactly what this chaplet is. It's reaching for someone, when maybe they can't reach anymore. There are stories, real ones, of people who seemed far from God their whole lives, but in their final hours, someone prayed this chaplet beside them, and something changed. Maybe not something you could measure or prove in a lab, but something deep, a peace, a softening, a return. Because no soul is too far gone for mercy. Not yours, not mine, not anyone's. Let's look at what happened to Saint Faustina one fateful day when the Lord asked her to pray the chaplet.
When I entered the chapel for a moment, the Lord said to me, "My daughter, help me to save a certain dying sinner Say the chaplet that I have taught you for him." When I began to say the chaplet, I saw the man dying in the midst of terrible torment and struggle. His guardian angel was defending him, but he was, as it were, powerless against the enormity of the soul's misery. A multitude of devils was waiting for the soul. But while I was saying the chaplet, I saw Jesus just as he is depicted in the image. The rays which issued from Jesus' heart enveloped the sick man, and the powers of darkness fled in panic. The sick man peacefully breathed his last. When I came to myself, I understood how very important the chaplet was for the dying. It appeases the anger of God.
That one stays with you, doesn't it? A man at the edge of death, fear, uncertainty, the powers of darkness waiting for a soul. And then, prayer. Not loud, not complicated, just faithful. What we just witnessed comes from the life of Saint Faustina Kowalska, a woman who trusted deeply in the mercy of Jesus, even when the world around her didn't always understand it. She prayed the Divine Mercy Chaplet for a dying man. And something changed. Not the fact that he was dying, but how he died. He died in peace, in the merciful rays of the wounded side of Jesus Christ. And that is no small thing. You know, we spend a lot of our lives trying to control things, our plans, our future, our outcomes. But there's one moment none of us can control. That final step. And what this story reminds us is that we're not alone in it. Not even then. God's mercy doesn't run out. It doesn't say, "Well, you had your chance." It keeps reaching, right up to the very last breath. And sometimes it reaches through us, through a simple prayer, through a quiet presence, through the courage to believe that it's never too late. Maybe you'll never stand exactly where Saint Faustina stood, but you might sit beside someone someday. A grandparent, a friend, someone who's scared or tired or just ready to go home. And in that moment, you'll have something powerful to offer. Not answers, not perfect words, just prayer. And that can be enough to bring peace. So tonight, as the fire burns low, maybe say a chaplet for those who are nearing that final step. Ask for mercy. Ask for peace. Because every soul matters. Every story matters. And with God, no ending is ever without hope. Thanks for sitting by the fire with me. I'm Spuds, and I'll see you next time on Stories of the Saints. Praised be Jesus Christ.